welcome back to the End of the Fourth Football Podcast. It's me, your host, B-Hizzy, aka Brendan Hurst, and as always, I am joined by the fantastic, the one and only, the Prez, Chris Mullaney. How are you doing, man?
I'm all right, mate. How are you?
I'm not bad. Interesting week of the NFL. Obviously, we couldn't do a Week 12 preview show, but we are here for the review show, and I think we should be stable going forward for the rest of the season.
Yes, we should.
We should be. And as we say, this is the last couple of weeks of the show in podcast audio only form. Going forward, it will be on YouTube exclusively. You can catch on the End of the Fourth YouTube channel 3 hours early compared to the Let's Talk Sports. So if you want to get in a little bit earlier, check us out on our YouTube channel, which is End of the Fourth Podcast, or you can find them on Let's Talk Sport, the YouTube channel. But we'll link it in the description below.
Yes, the 5-year-old found it.
Yes.
Like, Daddy, you're on my tablet. Yes, I was on it last night. No, look, you're on the screen.
Jesus. It's it's like I remember being 5 years old and playing with my Beyblades and my Sonic toys and all that,
Oh, kids of today.
No, I've just got action figures that don't move. There's Aaron Jones.
Oh, well, that's funny. He didn't move either on Sunday night.
He was all right. It wasn't his greatest, but
we'll get to it.
We'll get to it. It is what it is. Eh? So we'll start with those 3 Thanksgiving games we were gonna do. Okay. So the Bills. We'll start with the first one. The Bills just about won their back-to-back games in Detroit. This is their second game in Detroit in the space of a week. When they beat the Lions 28-25. Do you know the Bills won back-to-back games at Ford Field? And the Lions haven't done that since like 2016 or something.
I saw that statistic. But we keep saying you
exactly.
Can get statistics to read whatever you like. And do you know, we'll do it on another show, but we talked about prediction review. Mm-hmm. Now, when we did it at the start, because I went back and listened to that show again, because I thought, let's see how much has changed. I've got literally about 8 changes in mine.
Yeah.
And it's like, we all thought the Bills would be Super Bowl bound.
Mm-hmm.
They're very frail. I don't know if I'd trust them in a tough spot. I mean, I know that I now think Miami could win that division. I still think Buffalo will, but Miami could win it. And I think it depends an awful lot who wins that division, how far Buffalo go. I don't fancy them on the road.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. That's the thing, isn't it? It's like we look at Josh Allen and how obviously he'd taken a huge step forward last year. And how his progressive steps have just been huge from year to year compared to what he was in 2018 in his rookie year. And you look at Josh Allen, and I feel like now this is the point where he's topped out, and you can almost sort of relate, like compare him to, he's almost like a modern day Brett Favre, where he's a gunslinger, strong arm, very, very exciting to watch, but has a propensity to turn it over in, very, very bad spots. And he wasn't even particularly accurate in this game. He went 24 for 42, 253 yards, 2 touchdowns and a pick. I think that a Brett Favre comparison minus the welfare scandal is a good comparison for Josh Allen right there.
And that's indoors. I mean, it's not as if he was affected by 30-mile-an-hour winds or anything like that.
Mm-hmm.
It was in a dome.
And when you look at Jared Goff's stats, who we all say is a bit of a scrub, is very, very similar. He went 23 for 37, 240 yards and 2 touchdowns, no picks.
I know, but Jared Goff, I think with Jared Goff, you know what you're getting with Jared Goff.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I think in that situation, I would always trust Jared Goff.
Mm-hmm.
I think in a dome, I don't know. I don't know if I trust Josh Allen as much now. I think.
Yeah.
I mean, they're going to the playoffs. I don't think there's anybody saying they're not going, but where they could end up going. I mean, when I did my predictions, which we will get on to, I mean, I had them. I think I sent you as 2 after reviewing myself. I think they could be a 5 seed. Yeah. I think they're going on the road. I think Miami could beat them.
Well, we'll do a prediction revision show at some point. My guess we probably could do it this week. We could have a bonus show. Why not?
We could, yes.
Let's do it. But yeah, in my changes, I have the Dolphins winning the division. I think that they just their defense is spectacular.
Yes.
And I think that Tua is playing absolutely lights out. You look at all these metrics the way he's playing right now, and it's better than all these big names. He hasn't thrown a pick since like week 4 or something like that. I mean,
It does help when you get Jalen Waddle and Tyreek Hill. That's a good.
exactly.
But you can only play with what toys you have.
Exactly, yeah. Um, let's kind of get into the numbers here. One of the worrying things for me here was that Josh Allen was their leading rusher. He had 10 carries for 78 yards and a touchdown, and that's a big problem to me. A team that can't be sustained, and that's not a way you can play deep into January and February by having your quarterback as your leading rusher. You need that solid running game, and the Bills just don't have it, and that's why he's having to make these plays. And it's good that he can do this, but in a game against the Lions, you know what I mean?
That was
Where
the
the
thing.
defense is so poor.
Yeah, I mean, I think everyone sitting down to watch that must have been thinking, "Wait a minute, Buffalo's going to run away with this," and
Mm-hmm.
it didn't happen. I
I
think
mean, they almost lost. Do you know what I mean? They were
that's
losing at one point.
that's why I'm talking about the frailties. They are very frail, and I think they will struggle deep into January.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. No, I could definitely see it. It's tough, especially if they have to go on the road. If they had to play maybe like imagine if they had to go on the road and play like the Titans. And you know what happened in week 2, but the Titans are a different team now, and so are the Bills in many respects.
Yeah, I mean, I think the Titans could be the dark horses.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. They could go the Titans or even like a team like the Ravens. I mean, the Ravens almost beat them, I'm sure.
Yeah, but the Ravens lost this week.
Yes, they did. Yes, they did. Which I'm sure you're delighted to talk about.
Oh, it's delightful. I've got 3 games this week I want to talk about.
Yeah, I can
Let's
I
see if you
can
can
already
guess
I
the
can
other.
already tell. Um, we'll look a wee bit more into these numbers here. Bills went 7 for 12 on third down. Lions 6 for 15. When that happens, it really, when you compare these two, that's on paper. It looks like this shouldn't have been as close as it was, and I think this game just ended in a typical Lions fashion. They tied it up at 25. I think Josh Allen and the Bills had what was it, just over a minute?
That's it. I
And
mean,
sure enough, one throw and the Bills were in field goal range. I mean, that's all it takes.
that's it. And as we said about Tua's got Tyreek and Jalen Waddle, well, he's got Stephon Diggs.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
Mm-hmm. Would you
every
be surprised if the Bills and the Dolphins was the AFC Championship game?
I'd be very surprised.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Uh,
No one's going to Arrowhead and winning. Nobody.
you think?
Not even an army of Derrick Henrys.
Well, we'll see. We shall see. It's going to be exciting. This playoffs is going to be good. I'm glad I'm going to be going into it with like a viewpoint of where I know I'm not going to get upset and heartbroken again after staying up
Yeah,
to God knows what time and seeing us lose. So
yeah.
it'll be exciting. What else have we got here? Um, yards per play, both kind of decent. Bills 5.4 yards per play, Lions 4.9, so pretty even there. Both had 10 possessions. 401 yards to the Bills, to the Lions 326. I think on another day, if the Lions turned it over twice. I think on another day, the Lions win this game. Do you know what I mean?
Well, I mean, this is the thing. I would actually quite like to go back and see how many one possession games the Lions have lost.
Mm-hmm.
Because, and it's the same as, my boy who we're about to talk about in a minute.
Mm-hmm.
He's winning a lot of those close games. And
Yeah.
it always happens. One year you win a lot of close games, the next year you'll lose a lot of close games. And,
Mm-hmm.
this is the sort of league you can go from 13-3 or 13-4 to 4-13.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And it is that easy.
Mm-hmm. No, absolutely. Yeah. Well, we shall pass over to you now. You've got your man you want to talk about. We've got Daniel Jones and the Giants losing a close one to the Dallas Cowboys, 28-20.
I think New York, myself is included, I think we've just resigned to the fact now that they will go to the playoffs. That's a fact. They're playoff bound. However, I think they're going to have to go on the road to these difficult places. And judging by my reckoning, I think they're going to be playing Tom Brady week 1 in the playoffs.
Yeah.
I mean, I think somehow the Bucs will figure out that South, but
I mean, they could finish 8 and 9. Do you know what I mean? And win that division.
Yeah, do you know, this is the thing though that does annoy me though, because we won't do it because we're sensible people. But you see people online, they go, "Oh, how can you get to the playoffs and have an under 500 record?" Well, wait a minute. You know the rules of the league before you enter. Don't enter if you don't like the rules.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, not being funny. See if the Jags went 8 and 9 and made the playoffs, I'd be like,
you'd be buzzing.
You're right. I think you'd be the same if it was the Packers. You know, I think Tampa Bay will figure it out, and normally it's around about January they start to get hot.
Yeah. I mean, the season starts after Thanksgiving, is what I don't know if Bill Belichick. I don't think it was Bill Belichick that said that, but it's always kind of been the case, is where they, especially clearly Tom Brady's teams have started slow throughout the season, and they've got cooking. Yeah, I agree with you. I don't think they're going to finish 8 and 9 by any stretch. I think it'll maybe be 11 and 6, 10 and 7, something like that, and that'll be enough to win it. It will be only the 4th seed, but could you really say that? I mean, we've gone a bit off topic for this game, eh?
But back to the game, right? I think the Giants are playing well. They are playing well, and they were unlucky in this game, very unlucky. I mean, on the flip side of that, I wasn't very happy with Tony Pollard.
Yeah, Zeke Elliott was the leading rusher in this one for the Cowboys.
Yeah. I mean, I just think that Cowboys now, I think next season in the off season are going to draft another running back, because I think Zeke's gone. He's not as productive as he once was.
He had a good game here though, 16 carries, 92 yards and a score.
I mean, but he's not doing it productively enough every week. And when you play for arguably the biggest sports brand in the NFL, and that's all, as I say, arguably, you have to be doing that every week, and he's not. And the good thing is though, he does have star receivers and another back, star quarterback, star defense that can help him out, and he's helping them out. But Giants were okay, and I just think that they will get there. They will get there, and in the playoffs, I think they can sting a couple of teams.
Yeah. If we look at the numbers here, Daniel Jones, I don't think he was too bad. 21 for 35, 228 yards and a touchdown. And that's the thing, he's playing well. A lot has been made. We've made obviously about it, is that his decision making's been a lot better this year, and it just seems that he's definitely done enough to buy himself another year in New York, and that means a new swanky deal, because I think they did decline his 5th-year option, which will be next. Is that next year? Or is it the year after? This is 2019. Yeah, so it'll be next year, won't it? That would essentially have come into play.
Yeah, I think they will franchise tag him.
Yeah.
I think they will try and give Daniel Jones the minimum that they have to give him.
If they franchise tag him, that's upwards of $30 million. I think he'd be getting. So.
I know, but that's quite cheap, though. I mean, when you look at some of the other stars in the league.
I mean, could you imagine them letting him walk? I mean, you'd have to say that because he's not worth $30 million.
If Daniel Jones walks from New York, would you take him in Green Bay? If Aaron Rodgers decided to retire?
Not right now. Just after what I saw from Jordan Love, I want to keep it going.
No, that's fine. No, I mean, he will go somewhere like Las Vegas. He'll go somewhere like Houston.
Could he even potentially be, across the road, same stadium, and be calling the Jets his home next year?
No.
That
I still can't understand that in the NFL. It's weird, isn't it? In any other sport, you don't go from one team to the other team, and he decides I'll just go across the road. You know what I mean?
I mean, it's this thing, isn't it? It'd be the same stadium he'd be playing in. It just that would be weird.
Yeah, I know. It is crazy, but he may end up going somewhere like Houston or something if they don't take their quarterback. But we're going to go on Houston soon. But because I've got an idea what they should do as a GM.
Oh yeah. Oh well. Okay. GM Mulaney.
Yeah.
Anything else we want to talk about here? Giants 3 for 11 on third down. That's a big
That's not good enough.
problem. Yeah, that's a big problem, and I think a lot of that may be down to Saquon Barkley not potentially having a huge game. 11 carries, 39 yards, and a touchdown, and they weren't necessarily in a position where they had to abandon the run. So it's strange that he was just suffocated, and I think a lot of it's down to this Cowboys defense being so good.
I'm going to say something very bold. Cowboys are the best defense in the league.
Yep.
That's my opinion. Yeah, I think if that defense went, if Dallas right now went up against Buffalo or went up against the Chiefs in the Super Bowl, even the Dolphins, I think they would win. I think their defense would stop Mahomes somehow.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I mean, probably handcuff him, but
yeah, it's tough.
But I think Dallas is a very good defense who we haven't spoke about much.
Mm-hmm. And they've been getting a lot of love from the media. They are very, very great defense. Like, make no mistake about that. I mean, look what they just did to the Vikings and Justin Jefferson and all that. So,
and what they did to Daniel Jones.
Yeah, exactly. So, and this is a lot to be said. Is this defense played so well, and Dak wasn't even that great. He went 21 for 30, 261 yards, 2 touchdowns, and 2 picks. Which is kind of almost becoming his game a little bit. Is like, we've always seen Dak Prescott as a guy which protects the ball and is reliable and you could trust in big spots because I think he's probably one of the top 10 quarterback in the league if he's healthy, right? But we've seen Dak now throw a lot of interceptions, and maybe that's just his play style. Maybe he doesn't protect the ball as much as it used to.
He's not got elite receivers anymore, I think.
I think CeeDee Lamb,
so
Lamb, much elite, but
what I mean is he's not got like what Josh Allen has or Patrick Mahomes has. That's what I mean. I have one of his receivers on my fantasy team. Because I trust Dak, but I'm not trusting him anymore. But they're doing it. Dallas will be in the playoffs, probably 5 seed. Probably 5 seed. I think they're not gonna. Unless anybody, just any team, can just do what I keep saying. The same thing I said to you. Washington showed you the blueprint to beat the Eagles.
Yeah.
It's not difficult. Run it up the middle and stop Jalen Hurts. Well, I mean that sounds very easy. I'm telling
you. That's if we go off what Sunday Night Show is, that's one of the most difficult things to do in the NFL. So
exactly. But is that as finished, Daniel?
What now?
Is that as finished on Daniel?
Well, you can keep going if you want.
No, I want to talk about my next man.
All right then. Yeah, go for it. Vikings won against the Patriots 33-26.
Kirk wins in prime time. Prime time Kirk.
Yeah, he was good. 30 for 37, 299 yards, 3 touchdowns and a pick. That's good.
What did I say on the review show on the podcast? Was it not 4 touchdowns?
4 touchdowns. I think he said he'd have 4 and he'd run in for 1. So 3.
Right.
That's close.
Yeah, 3 out of 5 is not bad.
No.
And also, I locked them up.
Yes, you did. I think it was off. I think it was off air. I think you told me that off air, but yeah, we won't give you that. That was a Vikings lock there. Well, yeah, it has to have been off air. I think you were thinking about it. I was trying to pressure you. I was like, "You gonna lock it? You gonna do it?" And you were like, "No."
Then you sent me. What was it? I'm sorry because you'll have to bleep this out. Shite bag if you don't. That's the Scottish expression there.
That's the fun thing is when we exclusively go on YouTube, I no longer need to bleep anything out. So
yeah, but that's a Scottish expression. That's not even.
Aye,
everyone knows that.
it basically means you're a pussy if you don't, for our non-Scottish, non-cultured listeners.
But I locked them up, and I think Daniel Jones is playing well. Daniel Jones, Kirk Cousins.
Where are we going here?
While we're on the Vikings, TJ Hawkinson, he's looking like a decent get. Justin Jefferson, again.
Thank you, for goodness sake. 9 receptions, 139 yards and a score. Not so useless.
Do you know, it's really strange because I'm sorry to say this, Brendan, but I don't know the difference. I didn't look at fantasy properly, but something like if those two hadn't scored, you could have lost this week.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I think a lot of teams now, I think, have figured out Justin Jefferson. I know he is brilliant. I just think that he's very one dimensional. He's gonna run in a line and then he's gonna make a spectacular catch.
Yeah.
Could you imagine? I don't think it will happen, but him and OBJ in the one team.
I mean, you know, if it wasn't Kirk going and leading them into the playoff games, you'd have to say they'd be up there for the Super Bowl.
Do you know? This would be my just based on the Vikings, right? Offensively skill players. Adding OBJ if they could get him. I don't think they will, but if they were to get him. Kirk at quarterback, Dalvin Cook at running back, Hawkinson at tight end, and then your 3 receivers, Jefferson, Thielen, and OBJ. That would just be awesome.
I mean, yeah. I mean, not for me. I wouldn't like that. But
well, considering that my new present for Christmas is due to arrive soon.
I still think you're crazy for buying a legitimate real jersey.
Do you know, it's because it's Christmas, so I got offered any team in the NFL. So I was the guy we had on the other week, the plumber, he's going to Jacksonville, so he'll get me from Jacksonville.
Yeah.
I'm going to get Etienne because he's been so good in fantasy.
That's the one.
So my mum and dad bought me said, pick anyone you want. And I says, right, Danny, you pick, or Emily, you pick. And Emily went, 1 o'clock, Kirk.
You know, I will open you to the well, that's weird. I'll show you the world of DHgate, and trust me, you'll never buy a real jersey ever again.
Right, are we moving on to Sunday?
Well, no, we need to talk about the numbers here. We need to talk about the numbers.
The Patriots, because I picked the wrong quarterback in fantasy this week. Mac Jones got more points.
Yes, Mac Jones was very good in this game. I kind of thought he would. I think he's kind of now had kind of a stride. He's going pretty well. He went 28 for 39, 382 yards and 2 touchdowns, which is on par with how well Kirk did, to be fair.
That's what I'm saying. I mean, Mac Jones was very good. Do you think New England can be a threat come the playoffs? I don't.
I have them as this is spoilers for the prediction show, but I do have them as the 7th seed.
I mean, I if they were to make the playoffs, could they? Do you think they'll upset someone? Probably not, but up against the 2 seed, which will be whoever wins that AFC East. Which
I don't have them upsetting them.
No, neither do I.
They could keep it close. I think they'll give whoever gets that 2nd seed. I don't want to give too much away because it's very, very spicy matchup who the Patriots would be facing here. But I don't want to give too much away. But yeah, I think they keep it close.
Yeah, I don't think it'll be another 40 odd points to 3 or whatever it was.
No way. What have we got here? Yeah, Patriots 3 for 10 on 3rd down. I mean, that just tells you everything. It's not going to work like that. And it looked like they kind of abandoned the run. And maybe that's just down to the fact it wasn't working. The Vikings were allowing 2.1 yards per rush, but is that down to them getting away with it? Because Ramondre Stevenson was the leading rusher and he had 7 carries for 36 yards. So yeah, it says a lot, really.
But that when you've got a defensive guy calling offensive plays, you know, it's a bit like giving a guy that's just passed his test a Ferrari.
You know, it's tough to look at it that way when you look at, you know, the Patriots outgained the Vikings here. They went 409 to 358 yards. I know what you're saying. I think it's a strange move about Matt Patricia, defensive guy, historically calling plays for the Patriots offense, but I don't think Bill Belichick would be. I don't think it's wise to question him. I think, you know,
Bill Belichick didn't call an offensive game plan to save his life.
Exactly, yeah. So I feel like handing that over to somebody, I feel like it works because you know the strategies that the defense may come up with, and you would know how to combat them.
Well, I suppose.
So I get you. Like you may want a guy that specializes. He's an offensive guy. You want him to call your offensive plays, but maybe it works the other way around. Maybe it's unorthodox, and the Patriots are 6-5. Mac Jones had played a really good game. I wouldn't say it's a horrible deal. And 26 points on another day, maybe that wins this game.
Yeah,
That's not as
exactly.
if it's not as if it's 18 points or 14 points.
I know that is it. I mean, sometimes 26 points wins you lots of games in this league.
Exactly. Yeah,
I mean,
26, 21. You know what I mean?
if you go through the league this week and looked at how many teams scored under 26 points,
Yeah. It wins a lot of games. Exactly. This is, it beats the. Hang on, let's do that exercise. Let's do the small exercise right now. 26 points. That beats the Lions. It beats the Giants. It will beat the Panthers and the Broncos. It would beat the Buccaneers and the Browns. It would beat the Texans. Well, I mean that's not an achievement. I could have just passed over that. it would beat the Bears, but again, it would beat the Bengals, beat the Titans, beat the Falcons, Commanders, Chargers, Cardinals, Rams. It would tie with the Chiefs, so it would go to overtime. So who knows? And it would beat the Rams. I said that. Sorry, the Saints and the 49ers, and it would beat the Steelers and the Colts. So there's a lot of games. That the Patriots win this week if it's against anybody else, really. You know what I mean?
exactly, it's crazy.
Yeah, it's a strange exercise. It was a quick one, but yeah, it is what it is. Anything else on this one? I know you've got your hard on for Kirk.
Yes.
How
How much I love Kirk.
Too much. Pretty sus.
I love the fact that posters up my wall.
All right, yeah, we'll go on to the Sunday game, shall we?
With the Daniel Jones bedspread.
we'll
with
go
the Trevor
on.
Lawrence pillowcase.
And Derek Carr, a Derek Carr fat head on the wall.
Yes.
Oh, and you got to get Kyler Murray in there. More like a Kyler Murray plush.
Maybe, yes.
There you go. All right, we'll go into the Sunday games. We've got a Super Bowl 50 rematch where the Panthers came out on top this time, 23-10 against the Broncos. And Sam Darnold's first start of the season. He was solid, 11 for 19, 164 yards and a touchdown. And I mean, when that beats Russell Wilson, honestly, we always talk about Nathaniel Hackett being one and done in Denver. I think that's probably going to be the case. I think they will get rid of him after the season's done. They could look to trade Russell Wilson. This is just not working.
The thing is though, when who's got where do you trade him to? Because you're right. Don't take us the wrong way. You're not gonna, and this isn't I don't mean this as a dig. You're not going to trade Russell Wilson to Green Bay for Jordan Love, and that's not a dig. You want someone similar. So where do you trade him to? The only viable real trade is probably the Rams for Stafford, but he's not good. I mean, you can't.
He was retire. So
I mean, you can't trade him to Washington for Carson Wentz because you don't know what you're getting with Carson Wentz. I mean, there is not an awful lot that you could really do with Russell Wilson. I think what he needs a different coach.
Yeah.
And, I think he could do with a college coach.
Yeah.
Stanford's coach resigned at the weekend. Could he be looking for an NFL job? But I actually have a prediction about a coaching change in the off-season.
Yeah.
But I'll get onto that when it comes to it.
Okay. Yeah, Russell Wilson, really not good in this game. It's kind of what we come to expect this year. 19 for 35, 142 yards and a touchdown. And you just wonder what it is that's going on with the guy. I mean, signed a great big contract. You'd think, oh, this is a huge move. The Broncos could win this division, could win the Super Bowl. Their defense is so good. And, it just hasn't worked out that way. Not helped by the fact they turned the ball over twice and we're only 4 for 14 on third down. But they're getting outgained by over 103 yards to the Panthers of all teams with Sam Darnold as the quarterback. I mean, come on.
I know. But great win for the Panthers.
Yeah, this is huge. I mean, they are like, I think it shows that they're not as bad as we all thought they were. And did they have a stranglehold because of Christian McCaffrey? I don't know.
Maybe, but we're obviously next week's week 13.
Mm-hmm.
We're now starting to look at should so and so tank.
Mm-hmm.
The suck for Bryce Young, CJ Stroud sweepstakes.
Yeah.
The Panthers are now out of that.
Pretty much, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Whereas about 5 weeks ago,
they were right up there.
You know what I mean? It's,
yeah.
But
I mean, could you see Steve? Is it Steve Wilkes, the interim head coach? I can't remember.
He's a very good defensive coach,
mm-hmm.
which means it almost guarantees that with his first pick, he's going to pick a defensive player.
Mm. Will Anderson, the Panthers.
Give PJ Walker another year.
Yeah.
A full year, a full off season, draft defensive players and build around them a wee bit.
Mm-hmm.
I know you're not going to get Devontae Adams and Justin Jefferson, but build around them. Give the kid a chance.
Mm-hmm.
And that division is very, very winnable.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Tom Brady's probably going to be gone. That means the division's wide open.
Next year, the 4 quarterbacks in that South is going to be PJ Walker, Marcus Mariota, Jameis Winston, and probably Kyle Trask.
Do you know?
I cannot wait to watch NFC South divisional games.
Do you know? This has just occurred to me right there. If Aaron Rodgers doesn't call it a day, I could see him in Tampa Bay. And he would be the greatest quarterback to wear 12 for them. So
Russell Wilson going to Tampa Bay?
Yeah, I mean, that kind of thing. It's a kind of move that you could see. It's an attractive move. Do you know what I mean? Because they've got a great defense. They've got the weapons on offense. I think this is just a down year while Todd Bowles is trying to figure things out. But I mean, again, they're still going to win the division, and
exactly.
So it would be interesting to see for sure.
Yep.
Anything else in this game? Panthers were only 2 for 12 on third down, which, I think it's just down to the fact that I don't think this Broncos defense is great, but I don't know if anybody's particularly scared, and especially when you've got a quarterback who's kind of got nothing to lose like Sam Darnold, because he's probably going to be somewhere else next year.
He'll be a backup. He's a backup now.
Yeah.
This is the thing we keep saying. Well, where are they going to go? Because we've reached such a high saturation point where effectively in the off season there's going to be maybe 6 vacancies for quarterback, maybe, and it's because a lot of teams now. There's 2 teams who are going to finish near the top, are going to get Stroud and Bryce Young. Yeah, and then you're looking around at other quarterbacks, and I don't think apart from those 2, if the kid comes out, I don't know if he's eligible, but Spencer Rattler he was at Oklahoma.
I haven't heard much talk about him. I think he might have. I think, to be honest, he's in South Carolina now. So yeah, I
watched a wee bit of him on Saturday against Clemson. He actually looks okay with the right guidance. See, like a Mike Tomlin, or I'm not saying he's going to go to Pittsburgh, but like a Mike Tomlin or an Andy Reid or something like that. Yeah. He could be a good quarterback in this league. It's finding a coach of that ilk.
I think there's an attitude problem with him.
So did Baker Mayfield.
Yeah, no, exactly. Yeah.
So does Aaron Rodgers. I mean, and that's not a dig. So does, a lot of other quarterbacks who've gone on to be successful quarterbacks. Jay Cutler had an attitude problem.
Yep.
I don't care about your attitude problem as long as you're getting W's.
No, for sure. 100%. I think that's just about it for this game. Russell Wilson was sacked 3 times, lost 17 yards in this one. Sam Darnold, I don't think, was touched. And that says a lot, really, when this Broncos defense, this is what I mean. I don't think anybody's really scared, because I don't think they can really... I don't know. I don't know if they've got the ability to project fear. It's just they've got a great secondary, but after trading away Bradley Chubb, I don't know what you want from the Broncos defense, really.
A miracle.
Yeah, sounds about right.
Von Miller and DeMarcus Ware coming back.
Yeah. All right. Well, we will take a short break, and then when we're back, we'll hit the rest of these games. I feel like that, we only talked about 4 games in that first section, but same place it always is. Yep. All right then. So we've got the Cleveland Browns beating the Tampa Bay Buccaneers 23-17 in overtime. This is a bit of a surprise. It's Jacoby Brissett's last action of the season if Deshaun Watson stays healthy. Obviously, he's back after the bye. But big surprise, really. I don't think a lot of people. I don't know. I don't know if this. I don't know if people gave the Browns a shot. But you think that maybe the Buccaneers, I think they'd won 2 in a row. You're thinking, maybe they're going to get things rolling now, and it just didn't go that way. Tom Brady, 29 for 43, 246 yards, 2 touchdowns. Not terrible, but not great. Not what we've expected, what we've seen from him over the past 20 years.
Brady's struggling just now, and whether that's personal life, professional life, whatever, we don't know. But then again, he doesn't play defense. So, Tom Brady can put up, 55 points every week. If his defense concedes 56.
Yeah.
It doesn't really matter. And, I don't like to blame quarterbacks because I like to blame defense.
Yeah. Okay, Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah, they're the ones that are supposed to stop the ball. And Tampa Bay's defense right now couldn't stop a cold. And it's poor. And as we say, the only good thing that they have going for them is their division.
Yeah.
Their division's pretty crap, so they will probably get to the playoffs, but whether they deserve to be there is a different question for a different day.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, we will see the Buccaneers potentially even get bounced out in the first round. Even if it is a home game, they just can't really seem to get anything going. I'd like to say though, I mean, I wouldn't feel confident. I would stay away. If I was a more of a betting man than I am, I would stay the hell away from betting against Tom Brady in the playoffs. But you look at it, 4 for 15 on third down. The Browns weren't much better, but all that matters is that final score, and it didn't work out for the Buccaneers there. Maybe some of that down to the running game, but they've not had a running game all year. Rashad White was their leading rusher here, 14 carries, 64 yards. And the Browns' defensive front's great, so they're going to be able to stop that. They only allowed, I say that they allowed 5.6 yards per rush, but I think that it just became time for Brady to make some moves, and they took the lead. They were winning in the third. Browns obviously tied it up, and then won the game in overtime.
See, I don't like that phrase, per rush, because. So what does that mean then? So if you're a defense, right, and I take one rush and go from my 25 and score a touchdown, I only rushed it once the whole game. Well, you can take 75 yards per rush.
Yeah.
I think you have to look at statistics as, yes, it's part of the problem, but it's not the full story.
Yeah.
But the Browns, because of losing games they should have won earlier on in the season, will now not make the playoffs.
Yeah.
But, I think this year was always going to be a tough year for them. I think once they have a full year with Deshaun Watson, I think we'll see a different Browns team.
Potentially. I think that the division next year could be probably one of the more interesting ones. That is saying if Lamar stays around, which who knows. I don't know if you saw his vile outburst on Twitter after the game. Not a good look for a guy that's looking for $250 million plus. But I think
that if Lamar stays around, you would have Lamar, Joe Burrow, who on his day is elite. Then you've got Deshaun Watson and Kenny Pickett in his second year.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's a strange one. I just think at times with that division, everyone makes the Browns a laughing stock. They're not a laughing stock anymore. They used to be.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I think they obviously need to improve on the offensive line. Sacked 4 times for 32 yards in this game against the Buccaneers defense, which obviously isn't getting anything going. I think they've lost Shaq Barrett for the year. So that's a big loss there. One of the standouts here was Chris Godwin. Good to see him back. Looks like he might be back to about 100% now. 12 catches, 110 yards and a score. And very good outing for him. Obviously in the loss, but still, good to see one of the, a pretty underrated wide receiver get back to 100% after that ACL tear.
Yeah, I think with a lot of different teams, I think when you have a star like they've got Mike Evans,
mm-hmm.
which means that the pressure's not always on Chris Godwin. I think when you don't have elite receivers, normally your leading receiver's your go-to guy.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I think that's where Tampa Bay are lucky, where they've got a great one
mm-hmm.
and a decent two.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
There is no team out there with two great receivers.
Mm-hmm. Well, aside from the Dolphins.
Yeah, the Dolphins, yeah, but that's cheating. I mean, they've got a cheat code.
Yeah. All right, then. Moving on here. You must be happy to talk about this one. The Jacksonville Jaguars run away with a 28-27 victory over the Baltimore Ravens with a crazy fourth quarter. 33 points scored between the two teams in the fourth, and that kind of set it up there.
Before we talk about the actual game, I'm upset about Travis Etienne getting hurt.
Yeah, mm-hmm. He says he'll be okay for next week, though.
Well, I've never met a professional sportsman that goes that's injured the week before and goes, "Oh, I'm going to miss next week." You're going to play regardless. I think.
Mm-hmm.
This is the frustrating thing about being a Jaguars fan. We always play well against big teams, and I don't want to use that phrase because it's a horrible phrase, but we always play well against big teams. Then teams that we should beat, we lose stupidly. And it's not like, I mean, I'm okay. As I always say, and it doesn't matter what sport, and it should be any sport. I will take defeat, but I will not accept no effort.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And I think this is now where the Jags, they're showing great effort this year. I still think they're a couple of drafts away from playoffs. I think the issue they have again, as we keep saying, division. If they were in a division, maybe, and I don't mean this horribly, but if they were in something like, the NFC South, they would have a shot in that division. I just think nobody can stop Derrick Henry, and Mike Vrabel's probably, in my opinion, the best coach in the NFL.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know it's obviously Belichick and Andy Reid, but I think if you look at everything as a whole, I would say that the AFC South is arguably the most interesting division.
Yeah, no, it could be, and I think that I don't know if I think you might be being a little bit I don't know, unfair to your own team there. I think the Jags have definitely got all the pieces, and another year under Doug Peterson, a second-tier surge. I mean,
all the pieces.
Look how well Trevor Lawrence is playing over the past couple of weeks.
Where's he been all, for the first?
Exactly. When we saw that slide where he was turning the ball over left, right, and center, and in this game he was 29 for 37, 321 yards, 3 scores.
How many years then are the Jaguars away from the playoffs, in your opinion?
I mean, it's like, I don't think the Texans are they're obviously not a 1-year turnaround operation, even if they, when they do select CJ Stroud or Bryce Young or whoever it is at the top of the draft. So they're not 1 year. The Colts, who knows? They're probably going to go into their 8th quarterback in the past 6 months. So it just.
I got that job. I'm starting next week for the.
There you go. So, I agree with you with the Titans, but I think that the Jags can definitely compete at the top of the division. And
They've lost a
be
lot.
there, when we're talking about meaningful football towards the end of December. And
Yep.
it depends on how good obviously the AFC East turns out to be, because all four teams are amazing. And then, you've obviously got the Bengals and the Ravens. And, as we were just saying, that the AFC North could be very interesting next year with all four teams. Even the AFC West. So the AFC, could you be crazy in saying that the AFC has what, 14 great teams next year?
Something like 10 wins might not make the playoff.
Exactly, yeah.
It's crazy. And I just think that with the Jaguars, what did we say earlier on the show? If you're winning a lot of close games one year,
Mhm.
you lose a lot next.
Yep.
Well, the Jags have lost a lot of close games this year.
Mhm.
I'm going to take that mantra,
There you go.
switch it. However, next year when we do the podcast,
Mhm.
all exclusively on YouTube,
Mhm.
I will be backing whoever's playing the Jaguars every week.
Yeah. For the pick'ems.
I'm telling you.
Yeah. Lamar, I mean, this has been a monumental fall from how well he was playing earlier on in the season. 16 for 32, 254 on a touchdown. I'm not saying they're going to let him walk, but I think he's going to have to bring his asking price down, and he doesn't have an agent to advise him on these kind of things, especially to advise him on what's a bad look, and with the tweet that he sent to that fan after the game. I don't know if you've seen it. I don't know if anybody of our listeners seen it. It's not good by any means. Very, very tasteless and just just immature. But he obviously is very good. Not in this game, and it just, I don't know, tough to see right now with Lamar.
You know, somebody put it, and it's one of these things again. I hate seeing on Facebook, but you see them all the time. It's like teams that have blown so many leads or whatever it was, and it was like this team was 11-0, this team was 11-0, the Ravens are 7-4, and I'm like, that doesn't really matter. I mean, how many?
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, Lamar can only score points. He doesn't defend.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You see, and this is the problem that I have is, me, I'm very offensive minded. I like touchdowns. I like flashy plays. I don't want to see quarterbacks getting sacked. I want
Yeah.
to see explosive 60-yard throws and
Mm.
massive runs and stuff like that. Preferably with Jaguars players
Yeah.
doing it. But, I'll take any team doing it. I just think that this could be a very interesting division. Very interesting next year.
For sure. The
That's
Ravens,
Boston.
we did the exercise on how many games does 26 points win you this week? 27 points. It's it's a lot of games. So I think you could probably say the Ravens were unlucky. I mean, was it not a 2-point conversion that the Jags got right at the end of the game to win this? So that I think that's just unlucky, because they were 8 for 14 on third down. The defense is really, really good. And I know they gave up 18 points in the fourth quarter, but I don't know. I think that if you've got Lamar playing to the top of his game, which he clearly wasn't in this one, the Ravens win this, and they probably, they could be a one-loss team right now.
I know it's crazy, very crazy.
Mm-hmm. All right, then we will keep rolling on here with the Dolphins beating the Texans 30-15. Obviously, the Dolphins scored all their points in the first half. They took the gas off the foot off the gas in the second half, just because they didn't need to. And it's not as if the Texans were going to really threaten, and they didn't. 15 points, probably a bit flattering for them. Kyle Allen started this game ahead of Davis Mills. He went 26 for 39, 215 yards, a touchdown, and 2 picks. So not horrible against the good defense, but it's not going to be enough to beat a team as good as the Dolphins. Right. Who I think that could be, one of the threats, one of the biggest threats to the Chiefs that nobody's talking about in this AFC.
Possibly. I want to talk about the Texans. Oh God, I don't want to talk about them. I said earlier on the show that I would have a GM thing.
Mhm.
Here's what I would do if I was the general manager. They're going to get the number one pick. Don't use it. Go in free agency and get a quarterback. There's loads out there. Then take the number one pick and trade the thing for multiple picks. You're not going to win the division next year. You really need to start building, and I mean rebuilding properly. The problem that every NFL team has, and this is not just exclusively to the Texans, it's probably all sports though, they will probably fire coach after coach after coach. And that doesn't give any quarterback stability. And because of where they are, the Texans, they need stability. They need a consistent coach. And they don't have that.
Yeah.
But I do think try and find a free agent quarterback.
You think? Who's going to be a rep? I mean, I'm sorry, but the biggest name there is going to be Lamar. He's not going to the Texans, right?
Oh, he's not going to Houston, but
no, I can see where you're coming from. I think that, because clearly that having a guy like CJ Stroud is not going to turn you around in 1 year.
I don't want to have this issue with CJ Stroud because I like the kid. And I just think the problem's going to be that if he goes to the Texans and bombs, in 5 years' time, he's out of the league. And because if you're a quarterback and you fail with the first team, the world largely gives up on you. They don't give up on a Mike linebacker or a safety because no one's looking. I mean, the only sort of quarterback I can think of who went to a team, had a poor start and then rebounded, I would say would be Drew Brees. That would really be it.
I mean, you could put Geno in that conversation as well.
Geno Smith, but Geno Smith is sort of he's a real. This is a fluke year. I think any other year. Oh my God!
I think Geno's always been this guy. I think it's just been the Jets.
Oh my God! If you got Geno Smith as your MVP.
No. But I did almost put him as comeback player of the year, but I thought he was never really here to be comeback player of the year. So
yeah,
that's for tomorrow's show.
Anyway, but great win for the Dolphins, and that's making, I think it's week 15, very interesting.
Yes.
Come on, NBC, flex it. Take the Patriots and the Ravens off Sunday night and give us that game.
Let's hope so, for sure. That'd be an interesting one. Tua wasn't his greatest in this one, but I don't think he's going to win MVP, but I think he should. It's like last year. I don't think that Joe Burrow. I said it in, I think it was my second show. I said I didn't think Joe Burrow would win it, but I think he should have over Aaron Rodgers. But yeah, I obviously will say I don't have Tua winning MVP, but I think he should be. I think he's just played far and beyond whatever. I mean, could you put him in comeback player of the year, perhaps? Because,
Well, Pro Football Focus has him graded the number one quarterback.
Yeah, and he's played like it. I mean, he hasn't turned the ball over, I don't know, turn the ball over. He hasn't had an interception since, week 4 or something, week 3 or week 4 or something like that. I'm sure that's what I read. And that's MVP caliber stats for me. That's great. That's more than good enough. The Dolphins went 4 for 15 on third down. Not great, but better than the Texans. They were 2 for 13. But I mean, it's not hard to be better than the Texans in this day and age. So yeah, no, not the best game for Tua. 22 for 36, 299 yards and a touchdown. But like I say, they took their foot off the gas in the second half. And I don't know did Teddy Bridgewater come on, or was it Skylar Thompson or something like that?
Whichever one it was, yeah. I mean, I've spoke to Roger Goodell. I think next week we're getting the same offensive line. You're quarterback and I'm running back. Kerry's the wide receiver. Edwards the other wide receiver, and Danny's the tight end. I mean, I think we're trying for the Texans next week.
I'll take it. I'm thinking about heading over to Edinburgh Wolves as a punter, but I mean, I don't think the Texans need that. So yeah, I mean, this was a walkover. Texans turned the ball over 3 times. They were outgained by 129 yards.
How do you
You know,
watch the Texans this year?
yeah, I mean, unless you're a Texans fan that's actively hoping they lose, which I think everybody is at this point, because then you think, I think you're right in what you're saying is like, it's not a 1 year turnaround operation for the Texans. So taking a quarterback, one of these top quarterbacks right now is, you know, it's not a bad move. It's going to sell jerseys. It's going to get fans coming in, but at the same time, trading down to even 4, and you get a first round pick for the next 3-4 years for whoever wants one of these guys. It's not as if we're talking about Bryce Young and CJ Stroud as generational quarterbacks like we have spoken about. Like people have spoken about Peyton Manning and Andrew Luck and Trevor Lawrence as well. So a quarterback's going to be available next year, like you say, and a quarterback will be available in free agent this year and next year. So, the Texans, it's going to be rough, but if they play it right, and that's a big if, within 3-4 years, they could be back within, a shout for, whatever it is. And it's crazy because you think, back in 2018, 2019, guys were hitting the Texans for the AFC Championship game. I know that much for sure.
Mm-hmm.
I think I did. I think my AFC Championship game in 2019 was the Texans against the Patriots. I couldn't have been more wrong.
Yeah. But anyway, let's move on. We don't want to spend too long talking about the Texans.
Yes, it's not a fun thing. And let's talk about the Jets and Mike White beating the Bears 31-10. And I'll let you talk, but I just want to say this first: is that there is trouble in town for the MILF Hunter. I mean, Zach Wilson's gonna fuck Mike White's mom.
Can I say something? This is mental.
Yeah.
Right? I don't really know much about Mike White.
Mm-hmm.
It's really weird, right? If I said to you, and I don't want you to be pedantic about it, because you probably could, but if I said, right, name 10 backups in the league, yeah, you wouldn't really be able to do it like without.
I don't know if I could actually. That's a thinker.
It's very no, but I mean, if I said name them straight away, you would have to think.
Yeah,
it's very strange. I think this is where Robert Saleh has basically just had to go, right, I messed up defending Zach all this time. Mike, it's your shot. And the guy took his chance.
Yeah, I don't know how, as the Jets coaching staff, you can go back to Zach Wilson right now, because obviously we didn't get a chance to speak. I don't think, did we get a chance to speak about it? I think we did. It was not a good look for him after that game against the Patriots, saying, no, we didn't let the defense down. Just the zero accountability aspect from it. And it's just not a good look. And then when you've got Mike White going 22 for 28, 315 yards and 3 touchdowns, what more can you ask? Do you want a guy that can put you in, I know it was only the Bears who don't have a defense, but it still had to be done when the ball's in your hand. We always say that. Do you want a guy that is throwing for 315 yards? Or do you want a guy who's helping the offense run 2.7 inches per play?
Well, I'm worried about next week now. Very worried because of their next game.
Yep.
They have the Vikings this week.
Is this the Jets versus? Do you know what I mean? The Jets could take that. Do you know what I mean? I said a couple of weeks ago that the Jets have the best defense in the league. Right, I think they are legitimately insanely good. They only got 1 sack this time, but they don't give opposing quarterbacks an inch.
I think personally, had it been Justin Fields, it would have been a different story. Because I think Trevor Siemian or whoever, is going to be quarterback for the Bears without Justin Fields is a statue. They have to throw the ball as quarterbacks, and when there's nobody to catch it,
yeah,
it's a bit of an issue. But, I mean, I think the Bears, I said about, 5 weeks ago, I thought they could maybe go second in that division. It's going to be, they're not going to finish second now. I think they have to, again, rebuild in the off-season.
Yeah. They've got a good 2023 on the horizon. But I think that, I agree with you. I don't know. I still think the Jets would have won this game if Justin Fields was playing. I think it might have been closer, but I just don't think that clearly that defense couldn't have stopped the Jets. There was nothing that until the fourth quarter really. But when you're 21 points up in the fourth, you kind of take your foot off the gas really.
Yeah, and I think it's almost certain now who Defensive Rookie of the Year is going to be.
Yeah, Sauce.
Ahmad Gardner. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I think so, and I think when the Bears aren't getting off the field on third down, the Jets went 7 for 12 on third down. Just it's not helping anybody. Chase Claypool was the leading receiver for the Bears. He had 2 catches for 51 yards, so largely ineffective. And when you look at Garrett Wilson, he had 5 catches for 95 yards and 2 touchdowns. So that meme. It's like that young lad, and he's like, "No, I'm panicking. Don't panic. I am, because I'm going to lose my job." That's Zach Wilson right now. And do you know, Robert Saleh said, "Yeah, he'll still be here." Nah. If Mike White drags the Jets to the playoffs, tell me how you can, say to everybody who fills MetLife Stadium for the Jets in green, how on earth can you go back to Zach Wilson?
Yeah, I spoke to, I don't know if you remember him, we had him on the show, Paul, the Jets fan, and he was saying the same thing. He was there on Sunday, and he was saying that Mike White looked like Zach Wilson should have looked. When you spend a number 2 pick, you want top, and he's not been it.
Yeah, no, exactly. It's a big troubling time for Zach Wilson. Being his second overall pick, and he is talented, but it's just, I don't know. He is talented, so he'll get a shot elsewhere, whether that be a backup to begin with. Things will get figured out, and I think he'll be fine right now. But I think, if the Jets get to the playoffs with Mike White, or even Joe Flacco, if he was to come in for some experience, if Mike White, maybe picks up a knock or something like that, it's when you look at it, it's like, obviously Joe Flacco started the first 3 games of the season and played pretty well. Zach Wilson comes back and they're winning all these games, but you look at the Jets and you think, how is Joe Flacco still their leading passer?
Yeah, that's mental, and I just think that they will make them somehow. I don't want them to, because I don't want them facing Buffalo or Ravens, because I think they'll get smoked.
The Jets in the playoffs.
I think, depends who they have at quarterback. I think with Mike White, they might have a chance. I mean, if Elite Joe Burrow wins that division, he will smash them.
Yeah. All right then. Well, speaking of Elite Joe Burrow, let's talk about how he took down those Tennessee Titans. I'm going Bengals, Super Bowl. Let's do it. I'm on that train. I want them. I don't think they will, but let's do it. He was good in this game. Again, the scoreline was 20-16. So, no, it doesn't sound great, but Joe Burrow was 22 for 37, 270 yards and a touchdown. Bear in mind, he's down Joe Mixon in this one. Jamar Chase, still didn't play, but he should be back this week. Fingers crossed, because I traded for him fantasy. I've got a propensity to trade for injured wide receivers, thinking, they'll be back within a couple of weeks, and then they're just not.
Whatever happened to Keenan Allen?
I mean, I don't know. It's like, I always think, because he's always got a questionable designation, I'm always like, I'm not going to play him. And then when he does play it, he always balls out. So we'll see. Maybe he'll still be a league winner for me yet.
Well, I won that trade. He's only started 1 game for me this year, Kirk Cousins, and I made the right call that week.
There you go. Some good fantasy knowledge right there.
I swapped Kirk Cousins for Taylor Heineke. I had 3 quarterbacks to pick from.
There you go. Right. So this game, Samaje Perine started for the Bengals at running back. He had 17 carries for 58 yards and a touchdown. And I say Joe Mixon not being there, it's not like it's really mattered for the Bengals. Their run game hasn't been, effective at all this year. They had 3.9 yards per rush on 28 attempts. So I know you don't like that metric, but it kind of gives you a look at what it is that they're getting. And for sure,
I think Burrow's struggling a wee bit without Jamar Chase, just a little.
I think it's to be done with this Titans defense is really, really good. I mean, Burrow was only sacked once, but still, I think the Titans defense, especially in the secondary, is underrated. It's very, very good. You look so shocked.
Yeah. But I like the Titans. I do like the Titans. They're my dark horse to represent the AFC because they could go into somewhere like Arrowhead. They did 2 weeks ago.
Mm-hmm.
Put them to overtime with
Malik Willis.
Malik Willis. I think with Tannehill, they would have won that game.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Although probably giving Patrick Mahomes 11 seconds, we'd probably have won it. Probably got about 3 touchdowns in 11 seconds. You know what he's like?
I know what he's like. Look at me, I'm Patrick Mahomes. I need 4 milliseconds to score 5 touchdowns. Pathetic, mate. Grow up.
He's just different class, though. He is just different class.
No,
it's
absolutely.
I think him and Aaron Rodgers, imagine that as a 1-2 backup and starter. That would just be mental. You would have to start one in the first half and one in the second half.
That's a Pro Bowl roster right there.
I know.
Anything we want to talk about? Derrick Henry kind of shut down for the second week in a row, really. Only 17 carries for 38 yards. He was their leading receiver. He had 3 catches for 79 yards. And that says a lot.
Although that 79 yards, though, one of them was like Tannehill dumped it off and he ran about 50 yards.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
That's another stat I hate. See if you took away quarterbacks' yards after catch and added it to their score, I don't think you'd see many 300-yard plus games.
I don't think you'd see many 200-yard games, to be honest.
And I don't mean to slag him off. It's like Joe Burrow. He dumps it off to Jamar Chase, and then no one's going to catch Jamar Chase in the flat.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It's almost like cheating,
Yeah.
But no, Joe Burrow, he is elite now, sort of.
Thank you.
But I want you to win a division first.
Again, they wanted to win the division last year.
Yeah, they won the division last year, but Lamar was out, and
here we go.
The Browns was in flux, and the Steelers were rebuilding. So
it just sounds a little bit upset that Derek Carr's never won a division title.
Derek Carr's not getting it to play with. So.
That's right. Okay. How does that not wash for Aaron Rodgers then?
Because Aaron Rodgers is meant to be. Because Aaron Rodgers is the highest paid player in the league. That's why.
That's not right. You look at the numbers in this game. It's actually pretty even. The Bengals only had 30 more yards than the Titans. Time of possession was pretty even. And first downs again, 21 to the Bengals, 15 for the Titans, and relatively even on third down as well. The Bengals were 5 for 14. The Titans were for 7 for 16. So, not a bad outing for really both these teams, despite it being kind of low scoring. But, that's the Titans' first loss in what? Well, obviously they lost to the Chiefs, but, that's only their second loss since week 2. So
crazy.
They're still a really, really legitimately good team, and I'll definitely be up there in January.
Again, division works again for the Titans.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
But anyway.
Yeah. We'll take a short break and then we're back. We'll hit the rest of these games. Ready to talk about Packers Eagles. So Chris needed a hard out, so it'll be me taking us home on this show. Bit of a part-timer, really, isn't he? Honestly, that Chris, I've got to go and do this, I've got to do that, I can't do the show. That's what it is, isn't it? Right then, so we'll start off. We'll get on to the Commanders beating the Falcons 19-13, and this was kind of a not very impressive game, shall we say? Obviously, considering the scoreline, 32 total points, not what you want. Both quarterbacks not at their best. Marcus Mariota 15 for 25, 174 yards, touchdown, and pick. To be fair, that's him. That's how he is. So we say that's not his best. That's kind of what we've come to expect from him, that kind of stat line right there. Taylor Heineke, 14 for 23, 130 yards, 2 touchdowns and a pick. So, yeah, not great. The real kicker there was Brian Robinson running the ball for the Commanders. 18 carries, 108 yards, no scores, but he just did a really, really good... sorry, 105 yards. Sorry, misread that there. ESPN and their game recap, very, very small. But, he did a really good job running the ball against this Falcons defense. But it's, you look at it and it's like the game was quite evenly matched. 332 total yards, 314. That's Falcons were winning that one there. Both teams turned the ball over once, 18 first downs to 20 in favor of the Commanders, and 33 minutes and 9 seconds to 26 minutes and 51 seconds time of possession in favor of the Commanders. So it's a very even game. Both teams not great on third down, 4 for 10 for the Falcons and 5 for 12 on the Commanders. So yeah, not great. This isn't a super good game between two teams which aren't, the Commanders are all right. They're 7-5 now. If the season ended today, they would be in the playoffs. So interesting to see where this is going to go. The Falcons won a real gritty. Sorry, the Commanders won a really gritty game here, and yeah. So tough game. I imagine this would have been a tough game to watch. Just yeah, not really great. Mostly field goals here. But it is what it is. The Falcons, I still think they could win this division next year. They've just got all the pieces. I think they're going to have a nice draft pick that will be able to take some, a decent, one of these decent wide receivers. There's the boy of USC, I think is USC. I can't remember his name. But yeah, not a very exciting game, shall we say, but more entertaining than these countless 0-0 draws in the World Cup. And people try to tell me American football's boring. No thanks. We'll move on here. We've got a slightly better game. This is a decent one. The Chargers 25, Cardinals 24. I didn't check if this was scoregami. I'm not too sure if it might be, but this was a good game. One right at the end with the Chargers on a 2-point conversion. Justin Herbert 35 for 47, 274 yards, 3 touchdowns, compared to Kyler Murray, who was 18 for 29, 191 yards, 2 touchdowns and a pick. Kyler Murray said after the game, offensively they were schematically effed, which kind of, I don't know, puts it in a good. That's a good way to put it, I suppose. I don't think they were too bad overall. The Cardinals, they did outgain the Chargers by 55 yards here, but they did turn the ball over twice, and that's the killer there. They were over 50% on third down, 7 for 13. So, I don't know. I don't know if schematically effed is a good way to put it, because it's not this wasn't a terrible performance by any means. I think writing's on the wall here now for Cliff Kingsbury. I think he could potentially be gone at the end of the season. They just didn't take their opportunities when they arrived. 11 possessions. They did have 5.7 yards per play, but it's just, not enough. Let me look at what else they got. They're 5.3 yards per rush. Just when you've got the Chargers doing things like, they had 5 yards per rush, but they did they get 4 sacks? No, they sacked. No, Justin Herbert was sacked 4 times. Apologies. So, it's not a good look. And Justin Herbert was the leading rusher here. So, I think, to be honest, the Chargers escaped with this one right here. That's all I think about it. And obviously did watch this one on Red Zone. But yeah, it's a tough, and the Cardinals' struggles at home continue. They're 1-6 at home now. So yeah, not a good time to be with the Chargers. Sorry, the Cardinals right now. But I think they'll have a new coach next year. Maybe that's going to be Sean Payton. So we shall see. It's going to be interesting. Regardless. Now here we have the game that was probably annoyed me the most, and it's because the Raiders won again. They beat the Seahawks 40-34. Not only did the Raiders win, it also ruined my lock. I did lock up the Seahawks here. This was in overtime. Josh Jacobs, just what a game. So Harvey, he had a great game because I have him on fantasy. 33 carries, 229 yards, 2 touchdowns, including the 86-yard game winner in overtime. Was essentially the first play. That's all you asked for, really. The Raiders outgained the Seahawks by over 200 yards. Both teams turned the ball over twice. Raiders had the ball for almost 10 minutes more than the Seahawks here. And 27 first downs regards to 22. I don't think the Seahawks were particularly bad. I mean, 34 points is a great return. Kenneth Walker, 14 carries for 26 yards, 2 touchdowns. Not a great game for him. He seems to have kind of cooled down a little bit over the last couple of weeks, but I mean, he's a rookie running back, so it's hard to ask a lot for that, especially behind this offensive line, which isn't particularly convincing. Geno Smith, 27 for 37, 328 yards, 2 touchdowns and a pick. That's why I said earlier on in the show that I think Geno Smith's kind of always been this guy. He's just kind of been, rookie struggles, and then he's been in the shadows for, 10 years or whatever it is. So it's when you look at Derek Carr's performance, it really wasn't much better. 25 for 36, 295 yards, 3 touchdowns, 2 picks. And the most annoying part is he's going to get that game-winning drive in overtime added to his career stats. I mean, he did nothing. It was one play from Josh Jacobs that finished this game off. Raiders were 8 for 14 on third down, 3 for 9 for the Seahawks. Yards per play, the Raiders were 7.5 yards per play, Seahawks 5.9. So Geno Smith sacked 3 times, 21 yards lost on that. Ooh, excuse me. And the Raiders were penalized a lot here as well, 7 for 50 yards. So the Seahawks didn't play badly. The Raiders just found the opportunities to win, and it's not a good look for the Seahawks. And dropped to 6-5, the 3-2 at home. I still think they'll figure things out. I think they should make the playoffs. But it's one to wait and see. Thankfully, the Raiders they're dead and buried under the weight of that AFC. Davante Adams, 7 catches for 74 yards. No scores here. But no, it's annoying because the Raiders technically have a better record than the Packers now. So not a good look after I've been laughing at them for all this time. They are essentially 4-3 now since week 4. Which, when you put it that way, when you look at some of the ways these games went earlier on in the season, this could be a different story for the Raiders right now. But thankfully, it's not. Thankfully, Davante Adams should be maybe reaping what he sows, and we'll see how it goes. I say that having that jersey right there, but I think I've got a buyer for it now. Yes, get lost. He was fined something like $29,000 for being a scumbag to a referee. So. And probably the least surprising match of the week, the Kansas City Chiefs took care of the Los Angeles Rams, who are now just in purgatory. They're dead. They were dead a while ago, but Bryce Perkins playing in this game, 13 for 23, 100 yards, a touchdown and 2 picks. What more could you really have asked from him? He, nothing he really could have done against, this Chiefs defense, which isn't spectacular, but when you've got Mahomes on the other side, 27 for 42, that's not great for him. That's a couple, missteps in his throws, but 320 yards, a touchdown and a pick. So not the best game for Patrick Mahomes, but did enough. Isaiah Pacheco, 22 carries for 16 yards and a score as well. And obviously Travis Kelce got his touchdown that he does every week. It was essentially almost, I think it's nearly 250 yards that the Chiefs had over the Rams here. Both teams turned the ball over twice. And the Chiefs had 16 more third downs, which is more than the Rams got in the entire game. So I mean that's kind of crazy. Both teams got 5 conversions on third down. Rams were 13 attempts, and Chiefs were 11. You know, I think that this Rams team, I don't know if you could really say a lot of it is down to them getting rid of players and picks. I say players getting rid of picks, because obviously it led to success, and if something leads to success, eventually there's going to be a debt to pay, and in terms of sports, eventually there's going to be a debt to pay, and that could come in any form, and it seems to have hit them very, very quickly and immediately here. I think we could see the Rams potentially picking very high in the top 10. I mean, who would have seen that coming last year when, how well Matt Stafford was playing? He obviously didn't play in this game, and Aaron Donald's top, and Jalen Ramsey's a beast, and top times for the Rams. But again, they're not even going to have a first round pick because they traded it away. So I think that this is why I think Sean McVay could call it a year, or call it a career essentially after this one, because the future for the Rams looks pretty bleak, because they're not going to have any first round picks for a while. Matt Stafford could call it a day as well. He's just been injured too much. But credit to the Chiefs, but I don't think it was going to be too difficult for them. All right, then. Saints nil. It's a goose egg. Niners 13. It's the first time the Saints have been shut out since 2001. That's pre-Drew Brees, which is a long time. It's 21 years. That's that trophy, that scoreless drought can drink in America. So, when you look at the Saints playing particularly well against the Rams last week, Andy Dalton especially, 18 for 29, 204 yards this week. And, Jimmy Garoppolo was good great last week on Monday night as well. 26 for 37, 222 yards and a touchdown. I mean, to come down from 4, this is by no means bad. That's a decent stat line for him. My concern is that, the 49ers not getting Christian McCaffrey involved again. Elijah Mitchell, leading rusher here, 7 carries for 35 yards. Not a good look, really, when you give up all that. And when I talk about that, Andy Dalton was the leading rusher for the Saints, which is a problem. You can't be doing things like that. 49ers had 317 yards to 260 to the Saints. The Saints turned the ball over twice. 49ers had the ball almost 10 minutes longer than the Saints here, and 7 more first downs as well. So 4 for 11 on third down by the Saints, and 5 for 13 for the 49ers. This 49ers team, it's 7-4 now. But aside from that Monday night game against the Cardinals in Mexico City, I don't know if they've got a convincing offense to be, to take advantage and take a game by the scruff of its neck, which is what you're going to need to do in the playoffs. So I don't know. Maybe I'll be wrong. Kyle Shanahan may figure things out, but it's gonna be a tough ask. Luckily the Saints are just a tire fire, and there's nothing else really much to be said about this game. Bit of a boring one, to be honest. 13 points in the whole game. A lot of low scoring games in this one this week. So, all right, this is the big one. This is the one people were. I guess I need to go to bed. I was playing Call of Duty quite late last night. We lost the controller. Sad times. But yeah, the Philadelphia Eagles improved to 10-1 with a 40-33 win over the Green Bay Packers. This game was quite topsy-turvy. I mean, the Eagles raced out to a 13-0 lead, and then the Packers came back. They were at 14-13, and it was just kind of back and forth. 40-33 is a pretty good scoreline. And, other than 2 other games this year, the Packers win this against the Eagles because, the Eagles have only scored over 33 points twice, and that says quite a lot. So, again, the Packers refused to use their best offensive player, Aaron Jones. He, wasn't particularly effective. It was. Oh my goodness! I'm so sorry. Nearly out of here. AJ Dillon was the leading rusher for the Packers. 8 carries for 64 yards and a touchdown. It was a nice big run for him. Um, my concern here is how bad the Packers defense was against the run. I think we knew that they were atrocious against the run, but the Eagles had 21 first downs by running the ball. Jalen Hurts had 100 and something rushing yards by the end, but in the first quarter, we just couldn't stop him. And this was the same problem against Josh Allen a couple of weeks ago. If Justin Fields is healthy next week, the Bears are going to beat the Packers, because they just won't be able to stop the run. Jalen Hurts wasn't even particularly effective as a passer, 16 for 28, 153 yards, 2 touchdowns. So solid performance by him, but it just infuriates me. The Packers defense has been so topsy-turvy. I know if Chris was here, he'd be saying, "Oh, you said the Packers defense was going to be elite," and it's like, yes, it should be, man. It really should be. All these big names, Kenny Clark. Ugh. Kenny Clark, Jair Alexander, Eric Stokes, Rasul Douglas, Darnell Savage, Adrian Amos, all really bad down years for them. Just a complete fall off in the case of Kenny Clark. I just not seen him at all this year. Preston Smith is just, he was decent, but there's been too many times this year I've just been, not seen it from him. The Packers were 1 for 7 on third down, and that just tells you everything, really. Eagles 8 for 15. They were just able to run the ball. There was so many times the Packers had got them into third and long, even third and forever, and the Eagles were just able to run the ball through it. And this was a lot of that came through Jalen Hurts' legs. So mobile quarterbacks can kill the Packers, and it's clear. But there was one obviously bright point for the Packers in this game, and that was when Jordan Love came on in relief of Aaron Rodgers, who left the game with the oblique injury. And I said on Twitter at that point, I think that's probably the last time we see Aaron Rodgers in a Packers uniform, which is very, very sad to me. Maybe another day I'll go into why that means a lot more than just football to me. But I'm alluding to something quite serious there. It's not that serious. It's just important to me. Maybe I'll allude to that another day. But Jordan Love went 6 for 9, got 153 yards, a touchdown, nice touchdown to Christian Watson. Kind of made this game a little bit. It was possible that it could have gone one way or another at that point. But obviously the Packers didn't get the ball back. Jordan Love looked very, very good. He looked, he's decisive. He got the ball out quick. And it's just not what we'd seen from him in the limited action we've seen from him so far. So very similar to maybe what we saw almost 15 years ago to the day, with Aaron Rodgers coming on in relief of Brett Favre against the Cowboys back in 2007. In this game, Jordan Love looked very, 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 very good and better than what we'd seen from him, the year. And then obviously Aaron Rodgers took over the following year from Brett Favre, and maybe the same thing happens for Jordan Love. So it'll be interesting to see what Aaron Rodgers says with regards to it sounds like now it's a rib injury. And if it is, I don't think there's really much point in him trying to gut his way through that. Season's dead. 9-8 is the ceiling. That's very, very disappointing for a team which had a lot of high hopes despite the departure of Devontae Adams. But the future's bright for sure. There's no reason why the Packers can't still be talked about in good stead. Maybe new defensive coordinator Jim Leonhard obviously was the head coach at Wisconsin. I think. But he could come in as defensive coordinator and maybe whip some guys into shape. Because Joe Barry, this is just unforgivable. I don't understand how you can allow, Josh Allen played the warning signs with how good he was with his legs, and Jalen Hurts just took everything the Packers gave him, and that was a lot. So, great job by the Eagles. Obviously, I'm a big Jalen Hurts guy. Very happy for him. And that's why I'm happy for him, is because I knew we were going to lose this game. I did pick the Eagles to win it. So, yeah, that'll be that. But yeah, season's done. Bears next week for the Packers. Maybe Aaron Rodgers plays that, owns them once again, and we shall see. We shall see. Well, let's finish up here. Let me get out and probably go to bed. I need to put my laptop on charge though first. Here we go. Steelers 24, Colts 17. Just bad clock management by the Colts here. I mean, amongst a variety of things, 3 for 12 on third down. They were only getting 4.7 yards per play. Not bad, I suppose. Matt Ryan was 22 for 34, 199 yards, a touchdown and a pick. So not particularly great. Jonathan Taylor, 20 carries for 86 yards on a touchdown. That's probably one of his best games on the year. Kenny Pickett, 20 for 28, 174 yards. Important to him is he didn't turn the ball over. The Steelers obviously didn't have a turnover in this game, but he was sacked 3 times. So was Matt Ryan, but this is the kind of game now. Both teams are kind of relatively at the same stage. Steelers 4-7, Colts 4-7-1. It's kind of over for a lot of these teams. Well, both of these teams now, I think, has just too much of a hole for them to get out of and catch up, especially in the AFC. I mean, I think we all knew the Steelers were going to be dead and buried anyway, but the Colts had a little bit of life when they beat the Raiders, and now it's kind of just gone, down the drain. Steelers had more first downs by 3, 22-19. They had the ball almost 10 minutes more. It's 33 more yards than the Colts. So yeah, nothing much really to say about this one. George Pickens made a nice catch or two. He had 3 catches for 57 yards. So yeah, good game by him. Yeah, I mean, not really much else to say about this one. Well, that will do it. I should probably go to bed, but I need to go over the road to the shops and get some food probably. But that'll be it. So we will be back tomorrow with the prediction revision show. We're gonna go through our NFC our playoffs predictions. So seeds 1 to 7, our playoff games, and then our Super Bowl picks throughout them. And then we'll go through the NFL honors as well, so MVP and all that. So it's going to be a bit of a change from the one we did before the season, but regardless, that won't be an audio show. That'll be video exclusive. Not that it matters. But yeah, maybe we'll do that as the Let's Talk Sports exclusive as well. So I'm thinking out loud. But yeah, thank you very much for watching and listening. Check us out on Facebook, which is End of the Fourth Podcast. You can find us on Instagram, which is End of the Fourth Pod. On Twitter, it's the same thing, but instead of the word fourth, it is what is it? Yeah, 4th. I didn't do that last week, which is why I forgot it for a second there. And then obviously we will be moving exclusively onto YouTube after this. So final few audio shows for us. And yeah, as we progress closer towards the end of the season, things are going to start heating up. I wonder if we'll maybe see, I think obviously the Texans will probably get eliminated from playoff contention if they're not already somehow. But yeah, thank you very much for listening, and we will catch you next time. Ciao for now.